Right. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the NEBOSH General Certificate. So we have 3.2 to look at, but just before this, of course, let's see if anybody can remember something from last week anyway. I'll just ask probably two questions. You could ask more, but I guess I could ask two, right? So one of them is can you remember what makes up the culture of a company, or should we say who makes up the culture of a company? Anybody want to have a go at that one? We
Um,
have
the
Eden.
culture is made up of the individual. That will be, well, me, individual, and then the group of the companies. That'll be management and, well, I guess the workforce as well.
Okay, very good. Excellent answer there. Or as the British would say, cheers, right? That's a very good answer. All right, my next question would be let me see. I guess culture indicators could be positive or negative, right? So could anybody give like one negative safety indicator? Anybody else? A negative safety indicator? It's not in the book because anyway, I mean it's in the book, but I thought you're better than that. Once you understand what a negative safety indicator is, you can just give a negative safety indicator. What
Um,
makes it
uh,
negative then? Is it fact there's Derek? Yeah.
frequent near misses or frequent incidents.
Very good, right? So the fact that there's something bad, right? So that would be two, I guess, right? Not a problem there for Aaron. And Aaron said he worked last night anyway. All right, so we'll continue right there then, which is 3.2, page 7 in the textbook. It's kind of easy for here, but let me not say that anyway, right? Let me just teach it and I'll tie in some stuff at the end. So improving health and safety culture is the topic, is the heading in your textbook 3.2. We have a picture here, report it, don't ignore it. Explain exactly what happens. I'll come back to that picture just now. I will tell you something about that if I didn't tell you as yet. Right, so the next slide, we have senior, and you can watch your book too. They have management, commitment, and leadership is the same sort of heading. Senior managers are culture drivers. And so their commitment to health and safety is essential. If the organization treats health and safety as a shop floor task, meaning a low level task, then the organization would fail to manage health and safety, which will influence culture. Health and safety policy and procedures should be endorsed by senior management so as to engage them. About the same heading, promoting health and safety leadership safety standards by leadership and management. Visible commitment to health and safety motivates employees towards their commitment. For example, managers can do walkabouts. Management should practice what they preach. Management should praise good performance. Let me just admit somebody, right? And be as visible as possible when they do it. Health and safety should be part of the agenda in management meetings. Appropriate use of disciplinary procedures can also be used as a tool of promoting health and safety culture. Managers can take an active role in workplace inspection. They could have full cooperation with fire drills and other emergency training exercises. Identifying and keeping up to date with legal requirements such as the HSW Act Section 2 or the Management of Health and Safety at Work Regulation, Regulation 3, that talks about doing a risk assessment. So I guess we could explain, right? So, but I could read a little bit more because the explanation is so simple, right? Let me just read a little bit more again. I'm just going to read out this. You could turn to page 8. You'll see this is the same heading, competent person. There's just one mass explanation for this, right? There isn't two explanation. It's just one explanation, right? So definition of competent person. It's actually on this slide. So hold on a bit. You'll see it. Again, I'm admitting. Every time I say I pause, I'm admitting somebody, right? An employer must use competent person is a requirement of the Management of Health and Safety Work Regulation 1999, Regulation 7. An employer must provide competent person with adequate time and resources to perform effectively, same Regulation 7 of the same law. An employer must provide adequate arrangements to ensure that competent persons cooperate, procedures, meetings, appraisals. What is competence? Competence is defined as a person with practical and theoretical knowledge, as well as sufficient experience of a particular health and safety aspect to allow for the assessment of the effectiveness in relation to its objectives, targets, and functions. Well, there is no what is question now anyway. So it's not as if they're gonna ask you what is competence, right? But if they do, look it on the slide. It's nice to understand it. A competent person has three things. A competent person has a certificate, so that'll be theoretical knowledge. Competent person also have experience, and practical means they know what they're doing. Just think about this a bit, right? I mean, I can tell you a fun little story, right? So like I had a plumber, I built, well, I'm on the office today, right? But I built my house 2014 around there, right? 2015. No, actually I lied, 2016, 2015 to 2016, right? Yeah, anyway, so I had a student of mine who said he was a plumber, certifiable plumber and everything, right? And so I give him the work. I give him the work. I employed, when I say a student, a big man, I know, like you and I mean, we are adults here anyway, right? So most of it was all right. And those that were not all right, he had to call his father to help him. But I remember there was one particular faucet then, right? It's one of those hot and cold kind of taps then, right? And he had to, I think, put in the hot and cold hose into it, right? You can get them at CP's. Those of us in San Fernando, Trinidad, you can get them at CP's. It's a plumbing, it's a hardware store anyway, right? And this man took about an hour, right? He mounted up the tap and he took about an hour with a flashlight on his head, and he was sweating and trying to fish in these two holes into these two eyelets where you screw on the hose into the tap then, right? To get the hot and cold. And he couldn't get it, right? And this just kind of bring the idea of what is competence, right? So so competence is treating. Some people can have a certificate and they could be doing the work for years and but practical, I tell you, means know-how. Do they know what they're doing? Think about this, right? If you hire somebody to do something by you, they may say they have a cert or whatever, but do they know what they're doing? Somebody could not have all the experience and still know what they're doing and get the job done, right? And, like when I came by to that plumber, I was like, I got it in less than a minute. And how I got it is that I didn't do what he was doing. I said, so why didn't you, like, why you mount up the thing first and then was trying to go under it to fit in the two holes, right? Why you just didn't mount up the whole thing and then mount up the holes in it one time and then assemble it? I'm not too sure if you get it, but there was a place to put the hose there, right, from underneath. But he was trying to fish it. But can I just mount it up and just put the hose down instead of trying to put the hose up to screw on anything, right? Anyway, so practical know-how, right? Think about you. If you were hiring somebody to paint or whatever you all do, right? Whatever you do, competence is three things: knowledge, experience, and know-how. And even for you, right? When you finish this NIBOR certificate, right? When you finish this NIBOR certificate, you have knowledge. You mightn't have all the experience, but do you know what you're doing? Do you know how to do a risk assessment? Right? Do you know some of the things? And so know-how, I think to me, like if I had to ask you, right? Like out of the three words, right? Certificate, experience, and know-how, which is practical, right? If you had to hire somebody and just one of them, which one would you have chosen to hire them on? Will you hire somebody with a certificate that don't know what they're doing? Or you hire somebody with 10 years experience and they still don't want they don't know what they're doing? Or do you hire that person that he mightn't have the certificate? He mightn't have 10 years or 3 years, but they know what they're doing. Right? What do you all think? Anybody here know who Andrew Tate is? Anybody know who Andrew Tate is? Andrew Tate? Anybody know who Andrew Tate is?
Yes, sir.
The men, well, I surprised Michelle knew him, right? But yeah. But I remember Andrew Tate told a story. He's a billionaire. I don't know if you know a lot of these well, he has a school to make money. It's exactly legit. It's not a fly-by-night thing. Andrew Tate has been around for years. And I know one of my students is actually part of it. He runs a big business in Trinidad. I don't want to call his name, I could call his name because he's all over Facebook and TikTok and others call him Rico. If I ever say Rico, anybody saw Rico on TikTok? You know who Rico is? Anyway, he deals in but he follows the Andrew Tate School of Making Money anyway. I think it's called the Real World. If anybody want to research it, there's a school that teaches you to make money online, but it's not a quick rate scheme. It's real stuff. It's like real work you have to do. Then you have to email people. Anyway, Andrew Tate was telling a story that when he got his first job, the way he got his job, right, was that he wasn't all that qualified, but he told them, I'll make X amount of dollars for you. And he did it. Right. So, I guess in terms of competence, the know-how is the most important thing, right? Of course, he would have gotten his certificate and whatever have you after that, right? But he left that, Andrew Tate left that and got into the sort of, the science behind online banking systems and whatever have you, right? So you can check it out if you have some time. It's called The Real World. I'm actually not a part of it. I just like to look at Andrew Tate, right? I just letting you all know. Right. So competence, I think, is based on those three things. And if you had to hire somebody, I think you best hire somebody who know what they're doing, as opposed to somebody that have a certificate and they don't know what they're doing. All right. So let's get back to the learning, right? Let's get back to the NEBOSH exam. This was just for everyday life I was telling you, right? I did also tell you that 3.2 is very short, right? We almost finished it already. So let me tell you what this was all about. So if you look at the heading in your book, you can go back to look at page 7 if you want, but it's on page A2. To the top of the book have the heading running through the thing now. Watch it there. Improving health and safety culture, right? So the heading is running through all the pages anyway. So here the thing, right? Aidan just said that culture is made up of two things. Culture is made up of you, right? The individual. And culture is also made up of the group, which is the management, right? So if you all agree to that, that's actually the same definition from last week. So culture is a combination of you. If you remember, there's a little kind of formula for it, right? Culture is equal to you, right? We spoke a lot about this. And that of the group, right? Which is the managers. So if the heading is improving culture, if the heading is about improving health and safety culture, but culture itself was made up of two things. I'll just put a stick figure here, right, for you. Then there's only two ways to improve culture. If culture was equal to you and that of the group, they actually say times, right? Times that of the company or the managers, right? Well, then there's only two ways to improve culture. And I don't know if you realize that is exactly what the book is doing, right? The first page of your book spoke about, with the first page of 3.2, sorry, right? So the first page of 3.2 spoke about the way the managers could improve culture. Let's go back and take a look at it. I mean, get rid of that line, right? Yeah. So if culture is equal to you and the managers, then there's only two ways to improve culture. It's either you improve the managers or you improve on yourself, right? And that's what you're seeing. That's what they were saying here. If you look at the first thing in the book, management, commitment, and leadership. So there's only two ways. So then the managers should, right? Managers should take part in health and safety because that's part of culture. Managers should not treat health and safety as a shop floor task, right? Managers should practice what they preach. Managers should praise good performance because that's the only way to improve culture. If culture is equal to two things, there's only two ways to improve it. Improve the managers or improve yourself, right? So when you turn the page, and there's a page we all know, competence. If you look at competence, the focus of this is the worker. Watch it for yourself. See, it wasn't just competent, it was the worker. Competent worker. So the next part of it now, what they're trying to tell is that, well, after the managers improve on themselves, well, you have to improve on yourself. Competence, right? And competent worker that. If you look at the book, what they're trying to show you, the syllabus went down a kind of line here. I want to show you the line they went down. The line that the syllabus took here, watch your book a bit, you'll see is that there's an assumption here in the syllabus that the worker needs to be improved on. Because you see effective communication, right? And it's under the heading of competent worker. So the syllabus took the perspective here that the worker needs to improve as well. And there are about 3 ways a company can assist a worker in improving, I guess, their attitude, their training, their skills. And those 3 ways, if you have your book, is going to be looking at you, and it's on the syllabus too. Those 3 ways is by verbally communicating with the worker. You could communicate with the worker via written means, or by means of graphic communication, or by means of, you know, signs, videos, photographs, right? And that is what they have done. Take a look at your book. See if you understand what I just shared. That the syllabus took the perspective that there are 2 ways to improve culture. You either improve on the managers or improve on the worker. The way to improve the worker is via effective communication. And those of us in the book, what you'll see, they give you the 3 means of communication: verbal, written, and graphic. You can see it on the slide too, right? And in each one of verbal, written, and graphic, they went through some benefits and limitation of each form of communication. But the form of communication is meant to improve on the worker. Think you understand that? It's not like, okay, if you look at the book, right? Just look at your textbook for those who have it. If you don't know, just kind of hold up mine on the screen just now, right? What they did here, right? They didn't. Okay, it's not like social studies. And if you do social studies, you have to learn this, right? Like, what is the advantage of verbal communication? What's the limitation, right? But this is not social studies. This is safety, right? So what they're trying to tell you is that you could communicate with the worker via verbal, written, and graphic, but each form have a limitation and each form have a benefit, right? So that's what you see. If you want, I could go to my next slide. You see, you have that as well, right? So verbal communication is the most common. It is communication by speech or word of mouth. They have barriers to verbal communication, such as language, dialect, the use of technical language, abbreviations, background noise, distraction, and hearing problems. And could you think of any other? Well, the book have a real nice set of limitations and benefits of each form of communication, right? Just to take a look at them, we can touch each of them. So I wouldn't do this on this slide. If you want, I could just do this on the textbook, right? So I'll go straight on to graphic here. So if you look at your book, the benefits of verbal communication, I'll just read 3. It doesn't have to be the first 3, right? I'll just read any 3. The benefits of verbal communication, it's personal. It allows for feedback to be given. The last one, it usually allows additional information to be transmitted by means of tone of voice, facial expression, and body language. Limitations of verbal communication: language barriers may exist, message may be ambiguous or unclear, poor transmission quality via telephone or PA system. Could I ask you to read a bit just so I can get you all involved? Anybody want to read? You want to read? Somebody else pick a benefit and read a benefit of written communication. Written communication, I can go back to that one. What's a benefit of written communication? Written communication is via memos, the employee handbook, your job description, the notice board. What's a benefit? It's actually in the book. Anybody? We won't read all. We just read about 2.
It can be referred back to.
Very good. One more person.
Permanent record.
Very good, right? But by the way, this is my May class. So anyway, a long story short, right? Bosch, they are looking at these videos. I had 2 audits this week. One was miserable because, anyway, I'm on air, so I wouldn't say anything, right? But it wasn't miserable because of me. It was miserable because the auditor didn't know what they were doing. That's a frustrating audit. When you see the auditor don't know what they're doing, it's be real frustrating, right? But you know, that's Trinidad for you. That was a Trinidad audit anyway. Anyway, limitations, just 2 from these. Anybody want to read 2 limitations? Written communication, email, memo, handbook. Like, what's a limitation of that? Anyone quickly? I'll read one. A limitation of written communication. Let me see what's a nice one. The recipients may not be able to read. That's a nice one. Somebody can read another one?
It can be impersonal.
It can be impersonal. One more for the road, as they would say.
So question cannot be asked.
Okay, very good. Thanks very much. Let's go straight to graphic. We're taking it from the book, right? And I'll tell you why just now. You'll probably know why, but I'll tell you why again, right? Graphic communication, I'll go with a benefit. Let me see, it's a nice benefit. Oh, I could show you a benefit. I'll show you a benefit just now, right? Graphic communication, okay, maybe eye catching, that's a good benefit. Anybody has one more benefit of graphic? Graphic is videos and photographs and signage and stuff, right? Anybody else? Is any book? All you have to do is read it. One more benefit.
Jargon free.
Jargon free. I'll actually show you one just now, right? And I'll tell you a nice little fact about that one. Limitation, just two limitations of graphic communication. What's a limitation of a video? Let me see.
It may not be looked at.
It may not be looked at. Yeah, that's true. Might be expensive to produce and buy. I don't know if anybody in safety here, it had a safety videos going around long ago. Well, others have to say long ago, even though for me, it was the other day. There's a video called Remember Charlie. I don't know if anybody was in the safety field a short 10 years ago or 20. Anyway, there's a video called Remember Charlie. 3,000 TT dollars was that video. But you know, a lot of companies bought it. Anybody remember seeing that video? But it had to be in the companies. Remember Charlie. Hopefully Charlie's still alive, right? Because Charlie was alive. At least the last time I saw that video. But it was a story of a man who got burnt, right? And so there's like a huge initiative about a short time ago, 10 years ago, right? Where BP and Atlantic and everybody had purchased that video. What they did with me, I was in another company. I wasn't in safety yet. Well, I wasn't like how I'm now then, right? So, you know, it was more than 10 years ago. So they had, they used to rent, the companies would rent out hotel rooms, like a conference room, and they pay for all the workers to go, and we would sit down and look at that video. It was that good then. The company saw a value in it. So instead of paying $3,000, they had to pay for all the workers to go. I think I had gone to one in Paris Suite, which is a big hotel in Trinidad. And yeah, when you went, we actually got finger foods and things like that too, right? So it's like it is not a movie, it is actually just a man talking, but he is the person then is very vibrant. And he got burned for real, right? He survived the burn. And Remember Charlie was the name of it. I don't know if it's on YouTube. You can probably check and see. By now, this is more than 15 years ago. By now the video probably is free on YouTube anyway. Check it out if y'all can see it. Remember Charlie was a huge initiative. They actually had stickers, right? At the end of it, the company would stick it on your hard hat. Everybody remember Charlie, but it was a pretty good video. It wasn't a reenactment of anything, but it was just plain and raw, and it was good because the guy was vibrant anyway. If anybody put it in the chat for me now, I'll see if I could. Hopefully this man's still alive. He was an old man back then. I don't know if he's still alive. But Remember Charlie was the name of that initiative. And that video was very expensive, right? Anyway, just getting back to our NIBOSH exam now. Why I decided to use the book, I was telling you all, there are some reasons why, right? Well, number one, I think the book did this well. I think the book did this well. I think they did the advantages, the benefits, and the limitations of verbal written. I think they did it well, right? But the real reason why I use the book is not really that. The real reason is that I wanted to finish it. And the reason is because, I'll show you a listener now, right? Is that I have never seen a question on this, right? So I didn't see the need to spend too long in it now, other than talking about Remember Charlie, right? I don't know if you're taking notes, folks. I have never seen a question on that. Yeah, I wish it'd come. I wish it would, because it's an easy question. You could just go to your book and get the limitations and the benefits. But I've never seen a question on this, right? So could we just leave that there? So we'll kind of wrap it up because the topic changing. If you turn the page, you'll see the topic is changing a bit. Page 10. That to improve communication, you either improve managers or improve yourself. The way the syllabus went was the way to improve yourself is with proper communication. And the way you communicate is via verbal, written, and graphic. So we talked about that. And we looked at the benefits and limitations in the book. But we don't have any past papers to look back to. Right? So you could be the judge of that. That doesn't mean a question would not come, but in the trend of past papers, that part of the syllabus there seems to be ignored. Well, for now, if you get a question in it, great. Open your textbook, listen back the video, use my slides. You have the information there, right? I was going to tell you, I was going to show you a graphic, right? So I don't know if you all know anything about the picture that you're looking at here. Well, I think you should. You know, a lot of people say the Simpsons has predict the future, right? Simpsons up there, Simpsons here, Simpsons here. And maybe it does. Who is to tell? Who is to tell, right? Have you not seen the Simpsons predictions? Have you not seen them? Anybody? Have you not seen the Simpsons predict? It can't be me alone, right? This is all over YouTube, right?
Yes,
So
sir,
the
yeah,
Sim-
yeah.
Yeah, the Simpsons, I saw they had, and some of them scary because how could they know? But I know how they know. Some of you all may know how they know too. Just had to be into sci-fi a bit, right? Anyway, like I saw they wanted Kobe Bryant. That was scary that they could have predicted that, right? Donald Trump, where Donald Trump is coming down the staircase with the lady with the sign, and the sign fell the same way. How could that even be possible? But there are ways you could act. These schools that teach that. I don't know if you know that too. Which is not the subject of today's class anyway. But there are schools that could look into if you all. So have you all seen that Netflix series that I tend to love? I have it a lot on my WhatsApp status. Have you all seen Stranger Things? Have you all seen this series, Stranger Things?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
if
sir.
not, go and look at it. Yeah, there are things you can do. No, this is science, right? It's not fiction, it's actually science, right? I don't know if you all could research another one, something called the CIA report on the Gateway Experience. This is actually the CIA investigating a school that did things like projected into the future, right? So anyway, the long and short of this, hopefully they don't kill me for saying this, is that the Simpsons creators, you're laughing, the Simpsons creators have consultants on their team that are part of these different schools, and they could actually, like check out things then. If you look at Stranger Things, you know what I'm talking about, right? You can actually get into this state that they can see things. A lot of people have done it. Nostradamus, who is to say if people in the good old fashioned, the Quran or the Bible, John the Baptist, those persons who saw the future then they talked about Armageddon and stuff. Those, it's the same kind of reality that you're getting into, right? So anyway, the point of all of this is that there are Simpsons predictions out there that are very accurate. And if you didn't know, I'm going to tell you something now. So why have I used Homer Simpson on this slide? There's actually a very good answer for that question. Why have I used Homer Simpson's here? Homer Simpson is there. Am I trying to brainwash you to go and look at the Simpsons? No. For those of us who do not know, right? So I'll tell you something strange now. Listen to it, huh? So in the world of health and safety, Homer Simpson is the mascot for health and safety worldwide. Yes, what I told you is true, right? So I always tell people we have a very cool mascot. Our mascot is not Barney the bear. No offense to Barney. Our mascot is not some squirrel on a tree. No offense to the squirrel on the tree, right? The worldwide, the mascot for health and safety, when I say our, it's not me, right? This is an agreement signed between the creators of The Simpsons and the HSE in the UK. The mascot for health and safety is Homer Simpson. That is why, if you read the sign carefully, this sign is a complete sign. Like, we didn't put this here. The sign came with these words: report it, don't ignore it, explain exactly what happened. And if you wonder why, just go back and watch your book on that graphic now. So graphic communication, the first benefit is what? It could be what? Go back to page 9. It could be page 9. What's the first benefit of graphic communication? Yeah, it could
Maybe
be
I can.
eye-catching. Everybody know who Homer Simpson is, right? So if they had not me, because I just in Trinidad, just like you old guy, right? You know, so I didn't do this. I just telling you the creators of the Simpsons. This is an agreement they have with the HSE that we have a cool mascot. I like to say Homer is our Homer Simpson is our mascot. And of course, what they show you like, you know, what should not be done there. You know, Homer is always kind of clunging around and making accidents and stuff, right? But as the idea of using him because he's like a worldwide character that everybody could identify with now. So like, who is better? Who better than Homer Simpson to say what not to do, right? And Homer Simpson is the worldwide mascot. These are actually graphics that I got. If you all want to download, you can go to Google Images and you can search it Homer Simpson signage or HSE signage, and you'll get him saying a lot of things. And that graphic, if you're putting it up in your company, is going to be eye-catching. Everybody will say, well, you know, like, why are you putting Homer Simpson wrong? And you could tell them the fun story that Homer Simpson is actually the mascot for health and safety. So I will say again, for the third time today, we have a very cool mascot in the character, I wouldn't say person, but in the character of Homer Simpson. And it does satisfy, it does tick all the boxes of being eye-catching, visual, quick to interpret, no language barrier, dragon free. I'm going to say jargon free, right? That's a thing to watching too much on Game of Thrones there. Convey a message to a wide audience, right? So yeah, Homer Simpson is our worldwide mascot, right? Folks, that topic is finished. If you just turn the page, you'll see we getting into cooperation and consultation. Right? Yeah. Hopefully some of y'all, if you are safety in your company, go on Google Images and they actually sell some of these posters. And you could use them. I like them a lot because like I said, everybody could identify with the character and what he does anyway, right? All right. So I'm trying to line up back here with the textbook, right? So I think the next thing is cooperation and consultation. Okay. So I'm going to take up the definition of faculty because it's you know, that's not the main focus anymore at the moment. All right, here the next thing, right? So going forward again, we wouldn't, well, not wouldn't, but it doesn't have an exam question. The next time we're going to come up to an exam question is when we reach training, which is on page 15. But what I'm going to teach you now, look how nice it is in the book, right? Remember I told you this, I'm not Nibosh. If something is common, I'll tell you. And if something is not common, I'll also tell you. Watch, we have to go through this now. But there is no exam question on this. Right? So as we should remember, the open book exam is about 7 or 8 questions. They cannot literally test every single thing because it'll be a very long exam. So they do go down that line of what they like to test then, you know, like moral, legal, financial, they like to test. Last 2 weeks class, the benefits of ISO certification, they like to test that. Again, these things do not mean that these things will not come. Remember, again, speaking of the Simpsons predictions, I can't predict what a NEBOSH paper will have in it, but we could say that there are no questions on what you're looking at. There's no question on this table, right? There's no question on the table itself. The table shows you the differences between 2 types of reps, but there's no questions on that itself, right? So let's try to do it and finish it. It's about 20 to 2. If we can get back into training, there'll be an exam question in training, but a simple one though. The training question is pretty simple, right? So I'm thinking, how best do I read or explain? I would read and explain because, you know, if you don't read, you don't move forward with the slide, right? So we could read a bit. Let me read out up to about, we could probably read up to here, but by here you get lost already with the reading. By here you get lost with the reading, right? But with the, like when we explained it, you see how simple it really was. So I'll read and stop about there, that picture I had before, and then I'll explain and we'll come back and look at it and you'll see how simple it was after the explanation, right? Let's have a go at it then. So we have here cooperation and consultation, same thing in your textbook. You could watch your book, you see the same thing, same thing, same thing. Watch page 11, you see the same two laws. All right, so it's a requirement then for the employer to consult with the workforce. We have a requirement of the Safety Representative and Safety Committee Regulation 1997 and the Health and Safety Consultation with Employee Regulation 1996. Just watch your book a bit and you'll see, this is not an exam question, this is just a technical update here, right? If you look at your book, page 11, you will see the Safety Representative and Safety Committee Regulations. I'm going to hold it on screen. And you'll see 1977. But I said 1997. So which is it? Who is wrong? Well, nobody is wrong, right? The thing is, the Safety Representative and Safety Committee Regulation has been amended 1997, right? So when I wrote my slide, I just put the most updated year there, right? NIBOSH, or the author of your book, would have gone back to the original law, the original publication, 1977. But the Safety Representative and Safety Committee Regulation has been amended 1997, right? So nobody is wrong. It's just a matter of which version we kind of citing, right? Consultation can allow for a more effective and efficient business with better motivated staff. Consultation can reduce the number of accidents and work-related ill health cases, such as stress. Heading is cooperation and consultation with the workforce. Employers must consult with their workforce on a range of health and safety issues, such as any circumstances or circumstance that may negatively affect their health and safety, such as a change to a work procedure or process substance. What do you consult the workforce about, right? So employers must consult with their workforce on a change and existing risk level. Employers must consult their workforce on the introduction to a new technology. Employers must consult their workforce on any arrangements to use competent or specialist persons. That actually happened to me. That last one happened to me. I was in Massey, but the people didn't know who I was. So, but they know somebody was new in the building. But normally, like in Massey, the new employees, you carry them around then. You know, you take them to the different departments and you introduce them. This is the new technician. But they didn't do that to me. I was just hired as a consultant. So like when I was at the kitchen or the lunchroom, everybody was like, who is this guy? Because he's not an employee, right? But you need to tell the workers and look, you hire a consultant and the person will be on the compound on Wednesday or something, right? They will say, look, this is Shadrach, this is our consultant, right? But they didn't do that with me. So like everywhere I went, people was like, was I a trespasser then? Because they didn't say who I was, right? And given that privilege, I didn't tell them who I was because they didn't say who I was, right? All right, consultation and cooperation with the workforce. Employers must consult with contractors. Could find some of this in your book, I guess. On matters of health and safety, such as on-site safety rules and legal standards that the companies or the company adhere to. Employers must consult contractors on any supervision, such as the requirement for contractors to monitor their own workers. Employers must consult contractors on who are their subcontractors, right? Who is the main contractor? And you cannot use any subcontractor without first informing the organization. Employers must consult contractors on the authorization to ensure that employees of the main contractor carries an authorization card while in the course of their job or their job. I started to see how much to tell her, you know. It have plenty there, but none for exam. I'll tell you a little bit, right? So you all know what the plea card is? You all know what the plea pass card is? Plea, P-L-E-A? Okay, good. Well, hopefully you'll take my knowledge and after I'm going, you'll tend to share it, right? So plea didn't start in Trinidad. Plea is actually something from England, right? So plea, I mean, like, I guess Trinidadians and Guyanese are creative, right? But a lot of things we kind of took from the British too now, right? Like, we spoke about the Oshak. Do you know that the papers we have? I'm looking to see if I have any around me here. The papers and well, I guess the Guyana have the Chronicle that nobody reads. I think they have the Kaito, which is the waterfall. That's the name of a papers across there. So that could be an original name. Okay, I spot them. They're down in the corner here, right? The Daily Express. Trinidad has the Daily Express and the Guardian, but do you know that that's not original names? There's actually the Daily Express in England, and the Guardian is actually a paper from England. You all know that? How we have, well, I guess Newsday, that's a papers in Trinidad. Newsday, I don't know if there's a Newsday in England. But I saw the Express across there. I was like, oh, that's where they got the name from. Express newspapers and Guardian, the Guardian, right? But Guyana have some good names. Like I said, Guyana have the Kaito, which is, I think, the name of the waterfall. So that's an original name, right? And so the point here is that a lot of things in Trinidad, like we didn't invent it, right? So the plea pass card in England, if you read this carefully, right? Watch it again. Authorization to ensure that employees of the main contractor carry an authorization card. Yes, that's actually a big thing in England. All the workers, you have to have like a card, like what we call the plea card or the plea passport. That's a card they have in England. It's called working safely card. It's a working safely card, right? Or working safely pass card. So like how we have plea in Trinidad and Tobago, where you do a course and you get a card, that's like a requirement to come into the plant in Trinidad and Tobago. To get in the plant, you must have your NEBOSH. You must have like your plea card as well. But that didn't come from here now. That came from England in terms of the working safely pass card, right? So this is a requirement. If you are an employer, you have to tell the contractor that, look, your workers must have that safe card, the authorization card, once you want to get onto the compound anyway, right? Yeah, okay, good. Because somebody said they had one. It's pretty cheap to get them now. To get your plea pass card is like $300. You could just go and do the exam without studying, because once you do it in NEBOSH, there's a lot of common sense questions. It's multiple choice. You pay $300. This is for those of us in Trinidad, $300 TT. And you can go to the energy chamber, which is in Point Lisas, downstairs.
Last time I went to do my PIP, 275, sir.
Oh, it's less than that. Okay, look at that.
Yeah.
Way. Anybody remember what the price of the plea card was in Trinidad when plea first came out? It used to be $2,500 for that card. $2,500 TT. Right? Multiply by 3, so that trip about 9,000 Guyanese dollars. Right? Is it 9,000 or 90,000? I can't. Probably is 9. It's probably 90,000, isn't it? Right? Yeah. Yeah, it's probably 90,000. Right? Yeah, but look at the price of plea now. Plea is $275, $2,500. So it's very easy to get it now. I guess you all missed out. When I say missed out, those of us who are in the trading business, I didn't have my own company back then, but the company I worked for, it was for the day you're getting about 100 plea students. Yeah, plea was big business. Wasn't my company back then, right? I worked for a safety school as well. In one day, Saturday, Sunday, running batches of plea students, and each batch 20 persons, right? Plea was a lot of money long ago, right? But when I say long ago, about 10 years ago now, it's easy to get your plea card. Those of us in Trinidad, if you're doing your NEBOSH, if you want to get into a plant, those of us in Trinidad and Tobago, you have to get your plea card as well. Lexa said $275, and I've given you the directions where to get it. Point Lisa's Energy Chamber downstairs to the extreme right of the building, I guess, to the extreme right of the building, right? Guyana plea hasn't reached theirs yet. That sort of card system hasn't reached theirs yet, but it probably would, because with increase in production always comes the increase in safety anyway. All right, typical rules. This is all about consultation. Typical rules for contractors include to inform the organization of any harmful substances brought into their premises, to observe any speed restriction while on the premises, to observe any PP requirement while on the premises, to familiarize themselves and that of their employees with any emergency action to take. It have others, but it actually on the slide coming up, right? Safety committees must be established if 2 or more safety representatives require one in writing. Employers has 3 months to do so. Should have a broad spectrum of persons in your committee, can include one senior manager to demonstrate senior management commitment. The committee must meet regularly and action items must be completed within the set time scale. Safety committee should have well-stated objectives that will drive the effectiveness of the health and safety in the organization. Safety committee can include a study of accidents and incident trends, the results of audits conducted, a review of any new legislation and how it can potentially affect the organization, reviewing risk assessments and the recommendation from the safety representative. The safety committee could also look at feedback from employees. Factors which influence how effective a safety committee is or not effective. If the committee has poorly stated objectives and unrealistic targets, it will make it ineffective. If the committee have a poor chairman, that'll make it ineffective. If you have inconsistent meetings, you agree to meet every Thursday, but nobody didn't show. Lack of resources, something the committee has said they wanted to do. They want to purchase PPE, but managers didn't sign the check. It makes the committee ineffective then, right? Deviating from your agenda. If you have a low number of action of items, a lot of people ask for things in the committee or in the company and none of it has been met, it defeats the purpose of the committee, right? If you have an inconsistent or lack of a proper meeting room, those things defeat your committee, right? Now, folks, they do have 1 or 2 marks questions, 2 marks questions here, right? If you want, I'll tell you where. Well, I could tell you how, I don't think I could tell you where, right? So like if they say something like, not really if, so I'm gonna rephrase that. Most exam questions will talk about something about the manager, like what the manager did not do. They will say comment on the role of the manager, right? So I don't know if you could pick it up, but like all through here have some small things in it, like 2 marks here and there. It's like if the manager didn't communicate well with the employee, you could say that. You could say, in my opinion, the manager didn't have good communication skills. And you can quote your line from the case study. When you reach here, you can say the manager didn't have good consultation and cooperation skills, right? So what is sure for you all folks, you are going to get a management question. That's an overall question, even though it mightn't be a whole question on cooperation and consultation. In this then, if you could use the heading as the answer, like there may be ineffective communication, there may be ineffective consultation. It may be when you read the case study, the contractors were chosen because they were a friend of a manager, right? So in between here, it have things that could be examinable, but really not a whole question, but it have the concept that they could figure out that the managers may not be doing the right thing. And even here, it may have things like the managers are not supporting the safety committee, right? If there is a committee, they don't meet frequently, there's no resources. So it have things here throughout this lesson that I think could add to your question, which is comment on the role of the manager. What do you all think, right? It doesn't have a whole question though on safety committee, nor does it have a whole question on consultation and cooperation, right? That I could remember. But I do think the headings here could speak to the fact that the managers are not providing resources, the managers, you know, I think that could speak to the role of the managers and not being effective. Tell me what you think, and I'm about to explain to you now the big table. What big table? This big table. That doesn't come for exam. But we are explaining it anyway. It's the syllabus, right? Tell me what you think. You're alive out there still? You're okay still? To explain the table, I'll just do a small diagram here because the table in the book is self-explanatory. You just need to know what you're looking at. You just need to know what you're looking at. It would be nice if they kind of test that table, right? But I don't have a question to give you, right? Okay, let's go into it. So what I'll do a quick recap because it kind of does end with the table. See if you're seeing that, like when you turn that page with the table, the topic kind of finish and then you go into training. So we kind of have to do a quick recap here, right? So what you saw, so this, my chart here is meant to summarize, right? You don't have to do it if you don't want to do it, right? So what you saw is that consultation have some laws in England. Like, is it duty to consult with the workforce then, right? So consultation and cooperation have some laws in the UK, right? Maybe to get you involved a bit, can you tell me, because it's right on the book, can you tell me the name of one of those laws? I had the two on the slide just now, and there's the two laws I'm going to put here. That's the purpose of this sort of chart, right? Can anybody tell me what's one of the name of the law? It's in your book. It's not an exam
Safety
question.
representatives and safety committee.
Right, okay, good, right? I call this one the safety representative and safety committee regulation, right? I have some fun ways of remembering these things. You all may not want to know. Well, we will create acronyms, right? So this is the safety representative and safety committee regulations. I remember this by saying Seth Rollins and Stone Cold, as in Stone Cold Steve Austin. Seth Rollins and Stone Cold. So I never forget it. I never forget it, right? But for those who know who those wrestling characters are, you don't have to choose that one, but that's how I always remember it. Seth Rollins and Stone Cold. Right? Anyway, moving on. This side, I have this is a funny one. This one is the health and safety consultation with employee regulation. They do have a pronunciation of this one. HSCER, right? Some people say HISA, but I guess I've learned it by just saying HSCER. Sorry, I forget to say, right? HSCER. And that's this health and safety consultation with employee regulation. Now, you know how to remember it. Remember back in our day, before the pandemic, right? Up to 2019, students had to remember these things in us. So that's how we used to remember it now, right? So SR, SC, and then HSCER, right? Anyway, let's just kind of focus on what we're looking at, folks, right? What we're looking at, let's come off the acronyms a bit, right? Let's try to look at the bigger picture, looking at it from on top there, right? So what you're looking at is that consultation have two laws then. There are two laws saying the employer must consult with the workforce, right? See if you see that. And we could put some workforce down. Let's put some stick figures down here. So this is the workforce down here, right? This is the workers down here, right? And one of the things that the laws mention, you have to look in the book for this one. The laws mention, well, what the company have to do. Let me just say it first, and then I'll try to draw them in, right? Because the stick figures are using, right? So like one of the things the two laws are saying is that you have to hire somebody to fulfill the role of a safety representative. So there's a person here, we'll call him Frank, right? The law is saying the company had to find someone to hire here. And this person is known as the safety representative, right? If you look at the book, just check your book, you'll see title, position. If you watch the law on top, you see the law on top, right? Safety representative and safety committee regulation, right? But what it is a person they have to hire. See if you see that there. Title, position. So they wouldn't say title, position if it wasn't a person. So that's a person there. We'll say we'll call him Frank, right? So that you understand is a real person. This is a person, Frank. And that person has the function of what we call the safety representative, right? I'll tell you their purpose just now, but the purpose on the slide already, right? The other law said the same thing. The other law said you had to hire somebody too. right? You had to hire somebody on this side, and this person, I put this one to be a female, right? So this person, right? Let's call her Jane, not to be confused with Mary Jane, but you know, Jane. And that's a person as well, right? If you look at it too, you'll see title, position. And that person is known as, the person has a title, it's known as the representative of employee safety. We normally say RES for short, RES. RES. RES, representative of employee safety. And on this side, sorry, the other side, Frank is the SR, the safety representative, right? Frank is the SR. So see if you understand what the law is. The law is setting up a framework where the employer have to find and hire two persons. The question is why? Well, the idea is to consult with the workforce, right? So you can think of these two persons, Frank and Jane, or whichever name you want to use, right? They are like the middlemen then, or the middle folk that are going to liaise between the workforce and the employer. They are like the right-hand folks then. Like if there's a change in technology, they are the ones to inform the workers about that. A change to the working time, they wanted to work an hour extra. These are the people, if you look at the head in this consultation, these are the people that is going to talk to the workers. If the workers looking for better PPE, the workers want an increase in salary, but there's a mechanism set up by the SR and the rest, representative of employee safety, to bring the information to the employer. Are you all seeing that sort of framework? Well, if you're not seeing it, it's actually in the book. So that's what the book is showing you. You have an orange and a green table. On one side, you have the safety representative. On the other side, you have the representative of employee safety, and they are liaising with the workforce in matters of consultation. As I said, such a good table, but no exam questions. That is the way to sum this up. Such a good question, such good content then. But remember, I am not Nibosh. I can't set the question for you or for them. Such good content, but no exam question. All right. So what I want to see if you understand, and there are two laws that make it a requirement to hire representatives. And as if you go forward with this slide, I'll tell you, you'll actually see it on the slide. But you'd have been a bit confused if I didn't explain. If you watch it here, right? Both representatives. And if you watch your book, you'll see that because there are two of them. You'll see safety representative and representative of employee safety. Both representatives aid the process of consultation between the employer and the workforce. See if you're seeing that in the book. And see if you're seeing it on the chart. Right? Now, what the table in the book shows you is not just that. The table in the book actually shows you the differences between the function of both of them. The table in the textbook, page 13, does show you what we have on this slide here. There are two representatives, you can call them Frank and Jane. They assist in the process of consultation, better salaries, better working conditions, whatever is your concern. These people are set up there for that, right? But there's a difference in their function. And that's what the book shows you. There are no passive person in the door, right? But let's try to understand it a bit. So to understand it, there's actually something I wanted to observe first of all before I tell you what is the difference in them, right? So looking at your book for those of us with the textbook, right? Can you spot like something is wrong with the table? When I say like something seems to be missing on the table, can you see what I'm talking about? Like there is something there, but then there's something not there. And then there is something there, but then something seems to be blank. Are you all seeing that on the table? Yeah. So like, why are all of these blank? You know, like did the author make a mistake or something? Like what happened there? Because how could everything be blank? Everything seems to be, on the green side is actually blank, right? Now, the reason for that is because, listen to it, right? Listen to it. So these two persons are to assist in the process of consultation. However, only one of them is qualified to do so. And that is the SR. The SR is the qualified person to be there. So you may ask, what was the purpose in this one? Because the book mentioned this one. Watch it here. Representative of employee safety. So what's the purpose of that one? Well, that one, that person, male or female, could also consult with the workforce. But to make life simple for you all to understand this, that person not being paid. That position is not a paid position for, let's say, Jane. That position come like a first aider. Like you have your work to do, but they say you are a first aider, but you're being paid for a first aider. You're being paid for what like you are the accountant or the technician, the pump, the pump service, technician, whatever. But you are a first aider too, right? But you're not really being paid to be a first aider. And that is what this position comes like. The position of the representative of employee safety, this is not really a paid position. So if you understand, and I'll tell you why now. So why is it not a paid position? Is because that person is not really a safety. See if you understand it. A lot of content here, but no exam question. Just remember that, right? So if she, let's say Jane, if she is not a safety, well, what is she doing there? The answer is in the book. What is second thing on the green side? The answer is the second, I guess, row on the green side of the table says that person was what? Elected by the workforce. You all saw that? That person come like a class prefect. The class prefect, I'm just using an example from secondary school, right? The class prefect, right, could quiet down the class. The class prefect could call the roll if the teacher, sometimes the prefect goes and take the roll and mark it. Some of your prefect in your secondary or primary school, right? The class prefect could mark the roll. Now, that is actually the job of the teacher. So now the prefect does it. The prefect are being paid. The teacher is paying the prefect for that, right? So that role I tell you there, the REST, representative of employee safety, you all know how they select a prefect, right? A class prefect, if you remember how they chose a class prefect, they will say, let's nominate Jane, let's nominate Reshma, let's nominate Raj, according to people from my secondary school. Right? So they will say, well, who votes who vote for Jane? Stand up. Right? Who vote for Reshma? Stand up. The rest of you all sit down. And then, whoever get the most amount of votes, that's a class prefect. And that's what this person is like. This person has been elected by the workforce, where the employer has decided not to consult directly, right? So Jane, let's say Jane won the nomination. Jane could have been a CSR. Jane could have been the HR manager. She's being paid as an HR manager, but watch the green table now. If there's a safety concern, right? If there's a concern with safety, the employees could raise the concern with her. The company can say in the Monday morning meeting, ladies and gentlemen, going forward, Jane has been elected as your safety representative, well, your representative of employee safety, sorry, right? Any concerns you have with working conditions, raise it with her. But she's not really being paid for that. She is, let's say she's the HR manager or CSR. She's being paid to be a CSR, right? Now, would she get something for this role? Maybe. Maybe. It depends on the company to give her a stipend. She may have some benefits, like if there's a meeting going on, she could attend the meeting. If there is a symposium in the Marriott, Guyana or Trinidad, she could attend that free. The company may pay for her, right? But that is why, if you watch, so could you watch a green table? That's why that person cannot just do what the SR is doing. That's why these have been left blank. It has been left blank because that person is not the safety. Let's read it on you'll see, right? So under the SR, so the SR is the safety. Just to let you know that the SR, the orange side of the table then, if you want to take your pen and write on it, right? Is your book. Nobody coming back for your book. So that you'll understand the table. The SR is the safety manager. So the book says under function, this person could investigate potential hazards and dangerous occurrences in the workplace because they are the safety. But the other side is left blank. It's left blank because we can call her Jane, right? We just say, but Jane, who is the CSR, now she may want to investigate the hazards, but she can't because she doesn't know how. That's why they leave it blank, right? What her role is consultation, right? So if there is a concern, a worker has said the lighting in the building needs to, we need to check out the lighting levels, or I'm getting an itch on my hand, maybe there's something with the chemicals or the dust. Jane is there to take that complaint. If you watch it, you'll see she could represent to the employer any matter that is affecting the health and safety of the employees. If somebody raised a concern to her, she could raise it back to the employer. You understand why they leave it blank now? Everybody? Watch how simple it is. Let us go down to this one. Inspect the workplace. So you mean to say the person can't even do that because the other side of that is blank? No, you cannot just do that. Why the rest cannot do that? Now, initially, that person may not know. They may not know how to inspect the workplace. Remember, they're not in safety. Right? Suppose that's the accountant. Suppose that's the, here what, just a long story short, when I was in Massey, we had that to be the receptionist. Yeah, the receptionist is talk to everybody. So the receptionist makes a good person for the employees to talk to. But the receptionist cannot take up a safety document, a risk assessment form, and start to go and inspect the workplace. They don't know how. Right? So I just showing you how they couldn't put anything there. They couldn't put nothing. That's why they leave it blank. Right? Now, eventually, this person may learn and may do a safety course. The company may either pay for him or her. If we switch the roles around and say that this is Jane and this is Frank, right? The company may pay for him or her, and eventually they will know what to do. But for now, to be a resident, to be the representative of employee safety, you just have to be voted in. You just have to be the most liked person in the company. You just have to be, when they say stand up, who want to vote for Reshma, who want to vote for Raj, you just have to be the one that the more people stand up for, right? And then you become the representative of employee safety, right? Folks, I think, tell me if you understand, because right now we're talking about the differences in the table, like why on the left-hand side everything is filled out and why on the right-hand side some things are just left blank. The only thing that is not left blank is the thing about represented employees. Read it and see. Represented employees, represented employees, representing to the employer. Because that was what the person was chosen for. Now, if you understand that, and having said what we said, there's no need to really delay on this page because there is no exam questions here. If they bring it, I am the happiest person alive because you could open your book and just take it from the book. But they don't bring it. It's in the syllabus and we have to teach it. That's just how it is. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you understand the table. See if you have any questions on the table. Who have the more power? Who have the less power? Both of them are needed though because the laws say that they are needed. And I think because maybe sometimes the safety manager may be not too pleasant. You understand that? That's why they ask the workers to choose this one. This one, if you read the book, this one is chosen by a trade union, you know. What I guess you could watch the second row in the orange side of the table. That one is appointed by a trade union, but you don't know if the workers like that man. Let me just say that man, all right, Frank. It could be vice versa anyway. Jane could have been on this side, right? But if this person is unpleasant, then when I say unpleasant, I'm not talking about unpleasant in looks, but unpleasant in terms of their communication style. You know, they kind of like, when they come in the morning, they vex. You raise something with them, they will curse. cost as we say in Trinidad, or maybe cost as we say in Guyana as well too. It have people like that. The safety manager come in, he closes his door. This is from NEBOSH case studies in it, and a case study like that. They said the safety manager is only seen when he comes and when he leaves. I know managers like that, and I know managers both sides. I think you all know that already, and you all may know them too. I know managers who, they don't like nobody come and talk to them. They don't. If you're talking to them, them vex. Right? They vex, they come out and they will say, Shadrach, you are the safety man, or you are the safety officer, you deal with that. This is safety manager talking, right? I know some managers, they will go in their office, tea, coffee, holding them inside there, them are coming out, right? And have the managers who will come out and walk around the companies, walk and talk to the workers, but everybody's different. And what I'm saying is that I think this was done, so you understand why this person was put in place? Like if you have a manager like that, like the person is not very communicative, right? That this person here, we are calling her Jane. Jane was chosen by the workforce. So if you don't want to raise the concern with the SR, you could raise it with the representative of employee safety. She or he, in this case, if you switch them wrong, may be a bit more receptive to your complaint. And that's why it have two of them, right? So how could we use this information for exam if it's not an exam question? I think you could. I think it's the next 2 marks. I think you could say, if they ask you to comment on the role of the manager, or comment on if health and safety was effectively managed. If you read the case study and it says there are no safety representative, hopefully you remember this lesson. It's a big lesson with no past papers, right? But hopefully remember the lesson that said we could use it for 2 marks. You could say, in my opinion, there was no safety representative appointed by the company. And you could kind of quote in a case study where it was said, no representatives have been chosen by the company. You could even say there is no representative of employee safety. This one on this side, as I tell you, is 2 marks. And you could probably quote where it said the employees were not sure as to who to report the matter to because the manager is not seen other than when he comes in and when he leaves. So this is a 2 mark here. But you got to remember the 2 marks hiding here because they're not going to come out and, I wish they would come to the table, but they don't. But it have a 2 marks hiding up here. See if you can write down anything on that because this is done. We're on to training now. It's about 20 past 2, but we're just gonna touch training a little bit. Training is just 1 page. I'll finish it and I'll leave 3.3 for next week. 3.3 is not long. 3.3, in fact, is a repeat of safety culture. It is. If you read up forward, you'll see what I'm talking about. Right? And so next week we could actually start 3.4, which means I'm going to have to send a new PowerPoint for you. Let me just check what I sent for you on before to see what you'll have. I normally mark it on your register, right? So you all have lesson. Actually, no, I didn't mark it. So I guess I'll have asked, so do you all have this PowerPoint? If you don't have it, let me know. I'll send it to you after class. I might as well send you next week work one time. Right? I'd have to send you the PowerPoint for 3.4, which is the start of your project. Let me know if you have. So do you all have this PowerPoint?
Yes, we have this one. I
You have
think
it?
the last time you sent us 5 PowerPoints and nothing.
Oh.
Yes, I have.
I wonder why I didn't mark it on. I normally mark it on my register. I said what I send the class. Let me show you what I mean. Like another class, like the class I have, like I would send them, I send them, I normally mark them like what I send them and the date now. This is another class. This is not you. But yours do seem to have that. But if you say so that I send you.
So you sent us up to week 9.
Oh, well, then you have it already then. Yeah, the next 3.4 correspond to 7. If you see 7, so next week we'll finish off 3.3, but 3.4 correspond to the lesson that's called lesson 7. You see 7 and 8 or something. I normally mark it here, but I don't have nothing marked here.
Week 7.
Yeah, week 7 is 3.4, right? So next week we'll finish because it's so I'm gonna finish training now. I have about 15 minutes, right? Well, 14 minutes. And 3.3 is a repeat of safety culture, so we wouldn't spend long with that. And we'll get to the 3.4, which is the theory on your project. You're kind of early, because remember, you all just started, I mean, May, June. Wow, the months do go by fast, which is good. I like it finish fast. You know why? Because you get to hold the certificate, right? I don't know if I show you this for the morning. No, I didn't have yours for the morning. So look about my class before y'all. This is people that pass. I can't show you the whole certificate. I think there's something about that with Bosch. I can show you the top of the cert, but I can't show you the whole certificate number. Because have a serial number in it, right? So these are people that passed. Certificates came yesterday. I'll just probably show you the guy's name at the right, Craig. This whole stack I have in my hand here. This whole, I didn't even see this stack. I'll show you this stack just now, right? So yeah, it's good that these people are qualified, and the quicker you hold the certificate is good. If anybody know any of them, right? I can't show you for too long because you're not supposed to show certificates or control documents then. But I do it as a means of motivating you all to tell you that people, the months go by fast. But the thing is, you want the thing, man. You want the thing to get your work, right? To move on in your career, right? To move on in your career. So you want the certificate. So it's not a bad idea that things finish the way it's supposed to finish, so that it gets your certificate. I had another batch too, for those who know. Remember, we do more than one courses at the school. We do something called IOSH Managing Safely. Or that batch is on the other table, right? But they normally come in packets like this. This looks like process safety. We do NEBOSH process safety as well. I have a full process going on now, about 20 people. This is a batch from before. Right? This is other NEBOSH courses. Remember, we don't do one course. We're not a one course school. We go straight up to the diploma, right? This is all the leaflets here, right? But this is people, when I say leaflet, these who didn't come and collect their certs as yet then, right? Alanson Marshall is in town. Nigel Mohammed and Lyndon Mohammed, they are in Peace Salford, so they didn't come and collect their certs as yet. So that's why I have them here, right? So you all started in May, June, July, we getting into August. So yeah, we kind of on schedule, but it's not a forever course. You don't be with me forever. Even if you enroll in the degree is still 18 months. So it's not forever. And that's good, because you're going to finish and you're going to get your qualification and move on, as so many people have moved on, right? Let me just try to wrap this up, taking this off. And let's do trading a bit. So trading has a question, but the question is easy. So I'll just leave it to the slides. All right, so trading. So trading improves human reliability as it reduces the chance of human failure. Types of trading include induction training, job-specific training, new technology training, refresher training, introduction of new legislation training, management training such as IOSH Managing Safety. As you want to tell you, I brought that course to Trinidad a short time ago. So when is training needed? On recruitment, at induction, a new risk or increase in risk is expected. Increase in employment of vulnerable employees or young or disabled persons have come to your company. You cannot discriminate against the disabled. That's a law in Trinidad and Tobago. It's a law in the UK as well, right? A requirement of a new client or insurance company have said that you need to retrain. Maybe there's job change or process change, right? Anyway, all of this, right? So when is training needed? New technology to keep up to date with best practices, IOSH and process safety and stuff, right? I think we missed the question just now. Oh, yeah, this is the question. I missed it so fast, right? So the most common training question, you want to turn your book? The answer's in the book for this one. It's not hard. Page 16, 316. Whichever 316 you adhere to, John 316 or Austin 316. It doesn't really matter. Page 316. Right? So typical concepts of an HSE induction training program. You want to just watch your book for this? This is too easy. But let me kind of put it into context, because it's just 220. So we have some time, right? Let me kind of slow down a bit. There's no need to hurry it because it's easy, right? Let's put it into context. So the first thing to say is this. I'll say it again. This is the most common training question. This is the most common training question, right? And it's easy. What they asking you for? They asking you for like, what is the content of an induction training program? Like, what should the employees have been told then about your company? Let's take some from the slide and let's take some from the book for those of us in the textbook, right? The other thing I could probably tell you is when you get in as a safety in a company, for those of us who are not working as yet, when you get in as a safety in a company, you may have to induct the new workers. In fact, not may have to, you will have to, right? So what do you tell new workers that are coming to your company? You will be new, of course, one day, but one day you will not be new after you spend 6 months, a year, right? What do you tell the new employees that are coming? Anybody could say some without looking at the slide, without looking at the book. What are some things you think you should tell a new employee? What are some things you think that you need to know if you go to a company and you have been employed? This is your first day, so you got a job. What are some things you expect them to tell you? Anybody?
Oh, well, the company's rules and their regulations.
Very good. I'll kind of add it to rules and regulation. Some of that may be like if you have a dress code. So it doesn't mean that you have to be in coverall, but maybe you have to. Depends on the level that you're getting in safety yard. If you're getting as a safety manager like me, you wouldn't have to be in coverall, but you may be issued 2 coveralls then in case you have to go down on the plant or get to your vessels or whatever have you, right? Anybody else want to take it from there? So yeah, like if they have a dress code, what again do you think they should tell you on the induction of, of you attaining a job?
Emergency drills.
Very good. Well, the emergency drills, which is like where to go. So like how I used to do it in Massey and how they do it in most companies. When you tell the employee like where to go, now if it's a big company, right? You'll have to walk with them. So you just don't tell them because remember the employee new. So if it's a new employee, you tell them, okay, well, walk down by block 5, pass through C1 and C2, get to the corridor, get to, the person will be lost, right? So you can tell them all of that, but you have to walk with them. So like I was a new employee once, so they walked with me. Eventually at Massey, when I used to do it, I would walk with them. I would walk them through the corridor. We passing through the workshop, but you're staying on your side of the yellow line. You're passing through the cafe and you're walking your way out. And then some companies have many muster points. So big companies, you tell them, but this is your muster point. You come and you ask somebody here, your name will be called, right? Anybody else? Thanks very much there. Crystal, anybody else?
Report
more,
accidents and incidents.
Say?
Report accidents and incidents.
But maybe how to report it. So yeah, you tell them to report, but how to report it. Like when I say how to report it, right? To be real, you have to tell them where to find the form. So you can tell them, look, if you have noticed something, you can go on the company intranet that you have access to, put in your name, and you can download the company form, the accident form. If not, if the forms are held as a hard copy somewhere, right? You could tell them, well, if that accident has happened, you probably need to get to your manager and ask them for a form. They have it in their office. So like where to get the forms then, right? Let me shout some without looking at the book and see if anything creates another one for you. And you can tell me if, without even looking at the book, because this is what you need. You see, remember, you don't need your book, right? When you answer this question for exam, what you need is a case study, right? When the case study said the employee did not know who was the first aider, and the question says that what should have been in the induction training, you have to say, in my opinion, what should have been covered in the induction training is who are the first aiders. As mentioned in the case study, and you quote the line, the employee did not know who were the first aiders or where to find the first aid kit, right? That's when you put it, as I was saying, like you're using your case study as a springboard, not the textbook. You're using your case study as a springboard. If the case study said the employees did not know about the permit to work, right? Or how to get the copy of the permit, then you say, what should have been covered is the location of the permit to work records. As mentioned in the case study, the employee did not know about the permit to work. You understand, folks? So remember, everything in this exam have 2 things: answer and supporting lines. Answer and supporting lines, right? So the book is important. but you are more important. Your understanding is more important. Your understanding that anything could be in that induction program. Any good thing, like the policy of the company. Let me shout some I was telling you, like, what about drug testing? You think drug testing, the thing that the company doing random drug testing, do you think the employees need to know about that? Yes?
Yes.
What about smoking? Do they allow smoking in the compound? Do they have a designated? So you don't need the book. You need you, right? You need your understanding, right? So is smoking, is there a smoking policy? Can we smoke? Can we not smoke? But like we want to go by the road to smoke. Some companies that want to go by the gate, but then some companies have a smoking area. What about cell phone use? Atlantic LNG. Right? What about cell phone use? When you're on the compound during working hours, you cannot use your phone. You could use it lunchtime. If you're away from the work area, then say you're back in the lunch. What about cell phone use? Anybody could give me some that you're thinking about?
What about areas of restricted access?
Very good, right? So you will get that from the case study, right? When they say the operator puts his hand into the moving conveyor, right? You could now say, in my opinion, what should have been in the induction program is the unauthorized areas for new or apprentice workers. You see, you use your case study as a springboard. What again could be important here? What about PPE? What about that simple one? PPE, don't ever overlook it. The need for PPE, if you work in ProMan, if you work in Gisby, if you work in Exxon, don't even dare come to the front gate without your PPE. It's best you go home one time. The day you forget it in your car, just go back home one time for it. Companies in Trinidad to Atlantic LNG, don't even bother come by the gate. Don't even think about it. They'll fire your skin. It's best you call them and tell them that you have diarrhea or something and go back home for your PPE. Yeah, because you can't enter, you could enter Proman without PPE, you could enter Atlantic LNG without PPE. Could you enter those of us in Guyana, Gisby without PPE, or could you enter Exxon without PPE? No, they'll fire you. And I'm talking from experience too. I actually forgot my PPE one time when I was working a company called IEL. I have realized IEL is in Guyana now. Yeah, the last time I was in Guyana, I drive and I saw IEL. Right? I don't know if I told you that story before, but yeah, the minute you forget it, best you go back home. Best you just go back home one time for it. Because remember, if you come to work without it, you can get fired. You can't come in the security gate with a slipper in your foot. It's best you call in, just say something happened in the morning or something and you go home for it because you cannot, right? So this is the things, these are the rules. If you see it on the slide. What about fire? I know you all said emergency fire. What about the location of welfare? Where are your washrooms? That's a simple one, eh? But what if you are positioned by the manager? What if your office is close to the manager, right? But the manager, again, I just saying, let's say it's a female manager, they don't want you in their washroom. So even if you are in that same location, you cannot use that washroom. So where is your washroom? Your washroom may be quite by the cafe, right? So the location of welfare arrangements. There's a lot of good stuff here, folks. You want to watch the book and see if you see any that we didn't cover? We finished now with 1 minute to go. But I tell you, you don't need the book. What you need is you, right? See if you see any good ones there. Hey, disciplinary procedures. That's a good one. So if you break some rule, like would they fire you one time, or do you have like a warning, like a first warning, a second warning? That's good to know. You have a first warning, you have a second warning, you have a third warning, right? First aid facilities. I don't think there's anything here that we didn't touch in my sort of discussion there, right? Where are the permits? How they assess risk, the location of welfare, what is the fire and emergency procedures, right? So we could stop here. I'll tell you too, it's an easy question because you see what you're using the case study as the springboard. Whatever the case study say wasn't there, then that's what should have been there. If they say the employees did not know the policy of the company, well then you say, in my opinion, what should have been in the induction is the policy should have been made known to the workers. See how easy it is? Your life is easy because you have a case study, right? Folks, I'm finished. This one had a past paper now. That's when we kind of went a couple minutes over.